Want to hear a joke? Okay, so it's actually not a joke. It's actually extremely serious. Everybody is familiar with the sound of construction, but this is the sound of modern Vietnam. When we first moved into the house, this house was under renovation. They completely gutted it and were rebuilding it from the inside out. And even though there was a house in between our houses, it sounded constantly like there was a drill on the other side of my room. And they started work at 6:30 in the morning. They're very expeditious about it. It only lasted about a month. But this construction sound is not the first time we've had it. So, what is going on? Xin chào. Vietnam is growing at such an incredible pace. It starts with these signs here, Quan Cat Batong, which means concrete cutting. These are advertisements for demolition companies. And it is as simple as calling up a company, making an informal agreement, and the company will come out and they will demolish your building in sometimes a matter of days. It does not take long at all. And that's what's happening with this building. So I'll take you down the alleyway. So after that house is demolished, they'll clear the foundation and then they will start rebuilding another house. It's very interesting because none of the buildings in this district are really more than 10 to 15 years old. But everybody wants to put their own imprint. Everybody wants their own piece of Vietnam. And a crew will come in from usually made up of migratory workers or workers from the countryside, and they will actually set up shop inside of the house. They'll live inside of the construction site. And this house has been under construction since we moved in. It's been about 8 months. I think the owner may have temporarily run out of money, but construction has started again. There are dozens of buildings in this district. There are over 10 houses in this neighborhood alone that are currently under construction. And that's true of all of Vietnam. Vietnam has been growing at a rate of about 7% per year, just shy of 7% per year. Its construction industry is growing at north of 7% per year. What does that mean? That means that in every city in Vietnam, there are thousands of buildings being built. This house is just about finished. They started in this plot right here and built it sideways, but they were living right in a ramshackle shack that they had constructed. It means that in every city in Vietnam, there is a construction boom, and the sound of construction is the sound of modern Vietnam. It's incredible. So the question is, Xin chào. So you can see another construction site right here with wooden poles, construction workers. So the question is, why do they put up with it? Why do they put up with the sound? And I think the answer is because Vietnam has one of the world's fastest growing middle classes. And there's a sense that everybody is going to get their turn. I think there's also an aesthetic argument to it. Vietnam has been rebuilding their country for a very long time. Frankly, since the French and since my country, you can hear more ambient work. Vietnam has been rebuilding their country for a very long time, since the French and since my country came in and destroyed it, but specifically for the last 30 years. They have been one of the fastest growing economies on the planet. And that means that there's an entire generation that has grown up. There's another construction site, the source of the hammering. That means there's an entire generation that has grown up with the sound of construction in their ears. So perhaps, modern Vietnam is not as bothered by the drilling, by the pressing, by the hammering as us Westerners who wake up much later, usually about 2 to 3 hours later than the Vietnamese. They're up at 5 in the morning. Perhaps they're not as bothered by the sound as us curmudgeonly Westerners who wake up and go, this is a joke. Well, no, it's not a joke. It's actually a very good thing. It's actually the sound of Vietnam being built, of a new Vietnam being built, of a new middle class. And I think that is incredibly inspiring. Oh, they've just about finished this house right here. And right behind me, this is just about finished. I swear to God, this was down in a day. As we turn back into my alley, you can see on this freshly painted wall how quickly it takes for new construction advertisements to be plastered onto it. It does not take any time at all, and they are on every surface. So, what questions do you have about life in Vietnam? I'm currently here, so I'm probably in a good position to answer them. Let me know in the comments. If you want to follow my travels in Vietnam, consider following me on Instagram and Twitter. I post at least once a day. And consider subscribing to the channel so you never miss another video. Besides that, thank you for sharing the soundscape with me.